The global trade landscape was significantly altered on February 2, 2025, when President Donald Trump announced the imposition of new tariffs on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. This decision sent shockwaves through the international community, marking a new chapter in Trump's protectionist trade policy. The tariffs, aimed at addressing issues ranging from drug trafficking to illegal immigration and trade imbalances, have ignited a fierce debate about their potential economic and geopolitical ramifications. The tariffs themselves are substantial. Imports from Canada and Mexico will face a 25% levy, a significant increase from the previous zero tariffs under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. Adding to the pressure, Canadian energy resources, a crucial component of U.S. energy imports, will be subject to a 10% tariff. China, already embroiled in a trade war with the U.S., faces an additional 10% tariff on top of existing levies. President Trump's decision to impose these tariffs represents a gamble with potentially far-reaching consequences. Proponents of the tariffs argue that they are necessary to protect American jobs, reduce the trade deficit, and force other countries to comply with U.S. demands. However, critics warn that the tariffs could backfire, leading to higher prices for consumers, job losses in industries reliant on imports, and retaliatory tariffs from affected countries. The immediate impact of the tariffs has been felt in various sectors. The price of Canadian lumber, a key input in the U.S. housing market, has surged, potentially driving up construction costs. Similarly, the tariffs on Mexican agricultural products could lead to higher prices for fruits, vegetables, and other staples for American consumers. The tariffs on Chinese goods are expected to exacerbate existing price increases, further fueling inflationary pressures in the U.S. economy. One of the key drivers behind President Trump's decision to impose tariffs is the ongoing opioid epidemic ravaging the United States. This crisis has not only claimed countless lives but has also strained public health resources and law enforcement agencies across the nation. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid significantly more potent than heroin, has flooded across the U.S. border, contributing to a devastating surge in overdose deaths. The ease with which this drug can be smuggled has made it a focal point in discussions about border security and international trade. The Trump administration has accused China of being a major source of fentanyl and its precursor chemicals, while also criticizing Mexico and Canada for not doing enough to stem the flow of this deadly drug into the U.S. These accusations have added tension to already complex trade relationships. The tariffs, in part, are intended to pressure these countries into taking more aggressive action against fentanyl trafficking. By leveraging economic measures, the administration hopes to force a change in how these nations handle the production and export of illicit substances. The Trump administration argues that by imposing economic costs, it can compel these countries to cooperate more fully in combating this shared threat. They believe that economic pressure will lead to stronger international partnerships and more effective control measures. However, critics contend that tariffs are a blunt instrument that is unlikely to effectively address the complex issue of fentanyl trafficking. They argue that the economic fallout from tariffs could harm American businesses and consumers without achieving the desired results. They argue that a more comprehensive approach, involving increased cooperation on law enforcement, intelligence sharing, and public health initiatives would be more effective in tackling this multifaceted crisis. Such a strategy would address the root causes of the epidemic and provide a more sustainable solution. Illegal immigration, a perennial flashpoint in American politics, has also played a significant role in President Trump's decision to impose tariffs on Mexico. This issue has been a contentious topic for decades, influencing policies and political debates across the nation. The Trump administration has long accused Mexico of not doing enough to prevent the flow of migrants and asylum seekers from Central America toward the U.S. border. This has led to increased tensions between the two countries, with each side blaming the other for the ongoing crisis. While the U.S. and Mexico have collaborated on immigration enforcement in the past, the Trump administration has demanded more robust action, including increased border security measures and stricter asylum policies. These demands have put additional pressure on the Mexican government to act swiftly and decisively. The tariffs on Mexican goods, therefore, are partly intended to pressure the Mexican government into acquiescing to U.S. demands on immigration. This economic leverage is seen as a tool to compel Mexico to take more stringent actions against illegal immigration. However, critics argue that this approach is misguided and counterproductive. They believe that using tariffs as a means to address immigration issues could have unintended economic consequences for both countries. They point out that the root causes of migration, such as poverty, violence, and lack of opportunity in Central America, cannot be addressed through tariffs or border enforcement alone. These deep-seated issues require a more nuanced and comprehensive approach. They argue that a more sustainable solution requires addressing these underlying issues through economic development, humanitarian assistance, and diplomatic engagement in the region. Only by tackling the root causes can we hope to create lasting change and reduce the pressures driving migration. Section 5. Trade deficits, a justification for tariffs. Another factor underpinning President Trump's tariff policy is his long-standing focus on reducing the U.S. trade deficit, particularly with China. Trump has repeatedly criticized what he views as unfair trade practices by China, accusing Beijing of manipulating its currency, stealing intellectual property, and flooding the U.S. market with cheap goods. The tariffs on Chinese goods are intended to protect American businesses and workers from what the Trump administration sees as unfair competition. However, economists have long argued that trade deficits are not inherently bad, and that tariffs are a blunt instrument that can harm consumers and businesses. They point out that trade deficits can reflect a strong economy with high consumer demand, and that tariffs can lead to higher prices, reduced consumer choice, and retaliation from trading partners. Section 6. Oil in troubled waters. The imposition of a 10% tariff on Canadian energy resources, particularly crude oil, has sent ripples through the energy market. Canada is the largest supplier of crude oil to the United States, accounting for nearly half of U.S. imports. The tariff on Canadian oil has the potential to disrupt this vital energy relationship, with implications for both countries. The immediate impact of the tariff has been a rise in oil prices, as the market adjusts to the prospect of reduced supply from Canada. This price increase could translate into higher gasoline prices for American consumers, potentially impacting household budgets and overall economic activity. Moreover, the tariff could strain relations between the U.S. and Canada, two countries with a long history of close economic and energy cooperation. Section 7, the Canadian Connection, Energy, and Economics. The tariffs on Canada have sparked particular concern due to the close economic ties between the two countries. Canada is the United States' second-largest trading partner, with billions of dollars in goods and services flowing across the border each year. The tariffs threaten to disrupt these integrated supply chains, potentially harming businesses and workers on both sides of the border. The Canadian government has expressed its strong opposition to the tariffs, vowing to retaliate with countermeasures of its own. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has called the tariffs unacceptable and unjustified, emphasizing the integrated nature of the U.S. and Canadian economies. The escalating trade tensions between the two countries have raised concerns about the future of their long-standing economic partnership, which has been a cornerstone of North American prosperity. Section 8, Retaliation and Repercussions. The imposition of tariffs by the United States has been met with swift retaliation from Canada, Mexico, and China. All three countries have announced retaliatory tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, targeting politically sensitive sectors in an effort to exert maximum pressure on the Trump administration. Canada has targeted U.S. agricultural products, steel, and consumer goods, while Mexico has focused on agricultural products, pork, and bourbon. China has retaliated with tariffs on U.S. soybeans, automobiles, and other key exports. This tit-for-tat escalation of tariffs has raised fears of a full-blown trade war, which could have damaging consequences for the global economy. Section 9. A World Adrift, the Future of Trade Relations. President Trump's decision to impose tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China represents a significant escalation in his protectionist trade agenda. This move has been met with both support and criticism from various sectors. While the stated aim of these tariffs is to protect American jobs, reduce the trade deficit, and bolster domestic industries, they also seek to address broader issues such as fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration, which have been persistent challenges for the administration. The potential consequences of this approach are far-reaching and uncertain, affecting not just the economy, but also international relations. The tariffs have already strained relations with key U.S. allies, sparked retaliatory measures, and led to a series of diplomatic challenges. This has introduced a significant level of uncertainty into the global trading system, impacting businesses and economies worldwide. Whether these tariffs will achieve their intended goals remains to be seen, as the global market continues to react and adapt. However, what is clear is that President Trump's actions have ushered in a new era of global trade, characterized by heightened tensions, uncertainty, and a shift towards protectionism. The specter of protectionism looms large, potentially reshaping the global economic landscape in ways that are not yet fully understood. The long-term consequences of this shift in the global trade landscape are yet to be fully understood, but the stakes are undeniably high for the U.S. economy and its place in the world. As the world watches closely, the future of trade relations remains a critical issue that will shape the economic and political dynamics of the coming years.